Hi, my name is Emerson Pugh. For my marketing presentation today, I am covering Halloween candy because what else do we think of besides costumes and parties and all the many things for Halloween? We think of the candy. We've grown up loving Halloween candy, always wanting to get our favorites on Halloween day. And so I thought it'd be really cool to look into how Halloween candy has done this year, and especially getting the data from last year to see how specific candy brands are doing, how it reflects different states, and different things like that that we'll get into, like SWOT analysis and all the many things like that. Okay, so let's first cover about just an overview of some of the things we're going to talk about. I'm also going to quickly cover these few things. So, first off, 2025 was actually a really big year for candy. I was personally surprised by this because I thought because of how the world has been with the government shutdown, inflation, all the economic things that we've been going through, that we were going to experience less candy being bought. But actually, it was estimated that we spent $3.9 billion in candy just just this Halloween, which is actually a record sales, which is pretty crazy. I personally was shocked by that, just by how our world has been. I didn't buy any candy. I mean, I guess I'm not the highest demographic. Usually it's parents that are the main people that these candy brands are targeting. They're not targeting me because I'm not going to most likely buy candy, or not as much as parents will be for trick or treating. But still, I was surprised by this. As well as mentioned, inflation has been a big issue with cocoa. It's been increasing those costs and sugar, and it's led to, as we've seen, shrinkflation. I've seen that a ton with different candies, especially Snickers. I don't know if that's just me. I feel like it's gotten smaller. And I feel like Reese's, I swear they used to be way bigger and now they just keep getting smaller and smaller. So I feel like that has been something that's been affecting candy brands. I feel like it's more chocolate brands because of and because of sorry, tariffs. That has been a big issue related to cocoa, but I feel like it's been affecting um, fruity candy and non-chocolate candy. That's why I feel like those kind of candies are okay. They are more the original size. And then, of course, seasonal expansion. I feel like we have seen this more and more where now branding and promotions, advertisements, all those many things, it's been getting earlier and earlier, just with really any season. Um, especially with um especially with Christmas, I feel like I swear they start getting it out right at the end of summer. They're like, okay, let's get and push this out. But it's also been with Halloween. So it's usually within September. I feel like I helped make this with Gamma, and so Gamma said late September, but I think it's even earlier than late September. I feel like it's beginning of September, maybe even to August, where they're starting to mention things about Halloween to get you geared up because Halloween is something that all of these candy brands anticipate to make a lot of money from. Not even just candy brands. I mainly highlight candy brands, but there's been a lot of other collaborations. You should totally look into them. There's some really cool ones. When I was doing this research, I found a lot of other brands that were doing things I didn't even realize, like especially fast food. Wendy's was doing some, Burger King was doing some. And so there's just lots of different promotions that people do because they know people are excited for Halloween. They're always looking forward to it. And so might as well get some promotions out to gain more sales. And so now let's talk about consumer choices. We're going to talk about what, of course, the reigning favorites are, some nostalgia, and as well as the gummy and sour that I was talking about earlier. Those have its own certain section of Halloween candy. So chocolate dominance, a big thing is Reese's, M&Ms. Those are usually what we think of. Snickers, Twix. All those many things are usually the dominated for candy brands, and we'll talk about that later of the actual top 10 list. So be excited for that for later. But they usually dominate because I think more people tend to like chocolate more, and so there's also more chocolate candy brands, and so that tends to appeal to more people, and especially in all these different demographics. Also, Circana found that chocolate made up 52% of Halloween candy sales last year compared to 44%. So it's increasing even. And so that includes all these different other kinds of candies. 52% of it is just chocolate. For gummy and sour, all those different non-chocolate, especially when you think of Sour Patch, you think of Skittles, Starburst, Haribo gummy bears. Those are what you're thinking of. Those did see an acceleration with teen and young adults because I feel like usually those are more child, really young kids love those gummy candies and sour candies. So there has been an increase for older adults. I feel like it's especially with Nerds gummy clusters. There are more recent candy, and so it takes a twist on gummy and sour, and that's something that more young adults love because it takes that classic but a little twist that makes it a little more fun and unique. And for nostalgic flavor, I personally thought of Tootsie Roll. I feel like that's a nostalgic flavor, but especially like Tootsie Pops, all those different ones. I would even throw in candy corn, which I know some people don't like candy corn, but I feel like it's a nostalgic, classic kind of thing that you would have for Halloween because most of these candies you can have all year. But really, when you think of nostalgic, you think of these different like Tootsie Pops. I don't feel like many people have them outside of Halloween. Same with candy corn, especially. They don't even really make it outside of Halloween time. And so those have been having a buzz and creating different excitement for people to go and try those to make them feel like, oh, I haven't had these in a while. Let me go try them. And so these are all the different areas within candies. That's super interesting. And now let's talk about, oh, sorry, you saw a little sneak peek. We're talking about the 4 Ps to Halloween candy success. And so I'll do a brief talk about all 4 of these and then talk about the most important one. So product, of course, it is the candy, whichever one they're trying to highlight. That is the main thing that they're trying to create, make a good formula. Of course, right now they're mainly shrinking them down, trying to lower the costs. Where they're placed is really important, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit of why they're so important, but trying to figure out actual product placement, where's the best spot to place it. Usually where your eyes are, that's the best spot to put it in. End caps are a nice thing to, when people are walking by, they don't see it and be like, oh, actually, I do want this candy. Putting them in bulk, especially for trick-or-treaters, all those things you need to bulk up to make sure that you have enough for Halloween season. Promotion is another big thing that gets people excited for it, wanting to help buy these different products and take part in Halloween. Price is a really big thing. I've seen these multi-packs where you buy 3 for $10, value size, because you feel like you're getting more out of it. And so it's really helpful to be able to do that because then it gets people wanting to buy these more and more because it encourages large volumes, especially for Halloween. That is a big time to bulk up and buy ahead for these different candies. And of course, the most important one, which I was talking about, is place. Because of the distribution and placement, it gets more people to wanting to buy it because already people are wanting to buy the candy, but they're usually going to look for it right away. They don't really care like, oh, I think kids will want this more. They're usually like, oh, which one's the best deal? Oh, which one do I see right away? Okay, let me get that one. Oh, that one has cool packaging. Okay, let's get that. So brands actually are more focused on place because that is where the consumer is. They already want it, but they want to see your product first. And so I think it is very important for them to wanting to reach these optimal sales, get the most out of it through these store displays and caps, as I was saying, to really target these audiences during this limited purchasing opportunity because it's such a limited time. It's usually going on for a month and a half, maybe 2 months, just to get as much sales as they can. And as you saw the little sneak peek, we're of course going to talk about the AIDA model, and all these are important: the awareness, the interest, the desire, but of course the most important is the action because already people know about candy. They already know about these different brands. They know about Halloween and stocking up on candy. So it really is the action for them to actually purchase the product, purchase your specific candy brand, and to want to buy it. And so action is clearly the most important. And so they do that through place. Place is a really important one. Promotion is also important. They want to see your ad and be like, oh, yes, oh, I do love this candy. I forgot about it. Let me go buy some. oh wait, that's a good deal. Let me go buy it. So it's all about action to actually make your target market want to press buy and purchase all the candy that they need. Also, some really fun things to break up all the different information I've been giving. Here's some really interesting information. This is based on 2024 through Instacart about last year's Halloween sales and different little information. So, of course, I'm personally not surprised that the biggest time for candy sales is during Halloween, but actually Valentine's Day is second. I found that really surprising. I thought it would be Christmas because a lot of people are wanting, Christmas treats, all those different things. And for stocking stuffers, everyone wants candy. But best treats in the bag, it's Reese's. I see it, but I'm really surprised because the top two are ones that are not good for peanut allergies. And I'm really surprised because I didn't see Skittles on the list. I didn't see Starburst on the list. I was really surprised by that. I also really found it interesting that Haribo made the list. I thought that was kind of random. I also expected Hershey's milk chocolate to be higher up than seven because chocolate, I feel like I see Hershey's all the time, everywhere. Um, I don't feel like anyone really wants it, but I feel like I see it all the time in bags, especially, I don't know, I just feel like I see it all the time in Halloween. And when people show off all the candy they got, I feel like I see it a lot. And I was also surprised by peanut M&Ms being the second most because I think peanut M&Ms are great. I think they might be one of my favorite candies, but I feel like it's more of a specific market. I personally think it's more of like older adults that really like it. And so I'm surprised to see peanut M&Ms to be the second because I don't feel like kids are liking it as much. And I feel like trick-or-treating, it's mainly a thing for kids. And so I found those to be really surprising. Let me know if there was anything you found really surprising. I think it was super cool. Next up, we have a SWOT analysis to mention how the number one candy is Reese's and how did they do this? Of course, Reese's has been around a long time. They already know how they do it, who they market, how they brand themselves, who they are, their formula of their candy. But I just think it's interesting to know, like their strengths, of course, is Reese's itself, the actual candy. They've done it well. They know that combo. People know what to expect when they eat a Reese's. They're not going to be surprised that it tastes different. I mean, I'm personally surprised by how it keeps getting smaller, but you know what you're going to get whenever you taste it. I feel like they have classic branding. Whenever you see the orange packaging, you know it's Reese's. I feel like they're branding the logo so eye-catching, you know what it is. And I feel like they are great portion sizes for trick-or-treating. They're really great. Weaknesses, of course, it kind of goes into threats as well. Allergen concerns for peanut allergies. I feel like it's a big thing because there's quite a few people that are allergic to peanuts. So automatically that takes out a big portion of your target, which is kids. That takes out a big portion of it. Kids and families, they can't have it. So it is a higher cost than just basic chocolate. They don't have to worry about that. Or gummy candies, they don't have to worry about that. So that is a big thing. And that also goes with threats like peanut allergies. It is a threat. You can't have that served in schools. You can't have that be a part of a peanut allergy family. They can't have that candy there. As well as, health conscious trends. People are trying to eat healthier. So, of course, there's the different dupes for the healthier versions. And Reese's hasn't taken part in that. They could do a healthier version if they wanted to. I think they do have a lower sugar, or at least they do for similar brands. I think like M&M's might have done it. So that's something they could look into, but it is a threat because some people are looking for healthier options, and it's not a healthier option. As well as there's competition. For me personally, the Trader Joe's version is better. It's a more premium quality. It just tastes better. Of course, it's more expensive, but I do think they do have these threats. And of course, let's go to opportunities, how they could expand. I feel like they have really some fun Halloween shapes. I think they could expand. I don't believe they have any Valentine's shapes other than like I think they have a pink one. But like hearts could be cute or like different ones. I was talking to someone about this information and they're like, "Oh, I actually think the different shapes taste better than just the regular because of like how it's configured." I don't know. So I think it's interesting that it's something to consider. as well as leveraging nostalgia. They can even be like, we are the number one, take part in it. Doing some cool partnerships. I think that would be so fun if they do some really fun partnerships. They haven't really done much other than the classic ad that's like um, the bites out of the like there's like a few bites taken out of a Reese's and like, oh, someone took it. I think it was like about vampires like eating it. I don't know. So they've done some like really classic ones that's just highlighting the product, which is great. But I think it'd be cool if they did some different promotions, cross promotionals. Okay, let's go on to the next section, which is inflation. As I was saying earlier, there's been inflation and shrinkflation. So it's been really hard for candy brands on figuring out how they should do all of this. So a really cool key metric is the average cost of a 100 count variety bag was up 11.4% compared to last year, which is a lot. 11.4%. So already going into looking for buying candy, you have to expect, okay, I'm going to pay 11.4% more than I did even just last year. So it already makes it harder for consumers where they're like, I don't really want to spend as much as last year, which of course we find out that they did end up spending more, 3.9 billion. But it's just interesting when we look at this information and see like inflation and shrinkflation is such a big thing that's going on with even just candy. You might just think of like these other markets, but it also affects candy brands. They've been looking at ingredient substitutions to try to combat the price of inflation and further hedging. Kind of sounds weird, but like brands are aggressively seeking longer term supply contracts so that they can get the lower price, protect these margins so that 2026 will be a good season for them as well. That's something they're always looking. I'm in an accounting class, and of course, people are always trying to find the way to lower costs so that they can have a higher profit. And so, this is something, of course, that these candy brands are looking at, especially with inflation. Okay, let's look at the different digital marketing. I mean, we're literally in marketing. Let's talk about these different digital and even experimental. I say there's some really crazy ones, really experimental. Okay, so first off, I think we need to talk about. I'm gonna skip. I'm gonna go to the second one. M&Ms. I was telling my mom about this and she freaked out because it's such a cool thing. Well, right now, I believe they also did this last year, where they have 24/7 throughout October and even early November. I think it's done now, but you can check it out to see if they're still providing these services. But where they had free candy deliveries for M&Ms. It's just M&Ms. I think it's even just plain M&Ms. I'm not a big fan. I'd rather just not get candy than have M&Ms. I'm sorry. I'd take peanut M&Ms and peanut butter M&Ms any day. Way over M&Ms. But anyways, I think that's a really cool marketing tactic because then the parents that do run out of candy are like, "Oh, perfect. I know a way I can get candy. It's through M&Ms." And so then they'll have a nice lasting impact on these M&Ms. They'll know that, oh, M&Ms got my back, so I'll help pay for them next time. I'll go always buy. I'll always buy M&Ms because they really help me out. And so I think that's a really cool tactic to really get these parents wanting to buy M&Ms. I also think I don't love this one, but Airheads hosted a film festival for just AI generated content created by their customers. So I love that second part, created by their customers, but I wish it was original content to really highlight these different customers saying like, oh, look how cool they are. But I don't love that it's AI generated. I know they're trying to hop on like not necessarily a trend because AI is lasting, but to kind of go in with like people are loving AI right now, loving or hating, but like to hop onto this to try to get people, people are talking about AI, so why not join into it? So I think there was definitely a lot of controversy with this personal one, but I think it's interesting that they're trying to figure out what people are talking about and they know people are talking about that. And so they're trying to hop onto that. Also, Skittles. Um, I don't love this either. It's called Skittles Zombie. So basically, it's gray candies. It's like Bertie Bott's, Russian roulette, all those different kinds where there's a few good flavors in them and also some bad ones. But I think it's what's interesting is, like Bertie Bott's, all those ones, they all have this specific color where it's like yellow could mean popcorn or it could mean, like boogers or something gross. or it could be something yummy or something gross. But since they're all gray, you don't know what you're getting. You don't even know like what kind of genre you're going for. You don't know what, like yellow, you kind of know like, oh, these are my two options, or green, oh, these are the two options. So gray makes it kind of a cool twist on the classic Russian roulette. So I do think it's interesting. People are trying to experiment more, innovate on some cool ways to get people excited for not just the boring, typical candy that they can get. And then some sweepstakes. Feastables did this and Haichu. I think it's interesting because both of these were not on the top 10. Same with Skittles, but and Airheads. The only ones is M&Ms. So I think it's interesting where these different brands that are like not in the top 10, that are not the biggest, but still well known, they're trying to find ways that are innovative, that are through sweepstakes. Come on, like people want to participate in that. You could win money. So like might as well participate in it because then it gets people familiar with the brand. It keeps them remembering these fun times of, oh, I tried out for it. I didn't get it, but it's kind of fun, something different. And then of course, this last one, it's not usually sponsored, but it can be sponsored for hauls of the different candy that they got. And they're like showing off what kinds of candy they got. And so I think that's a nice one where it creates excitement and it boosts visibility. So different people are noticing it on Instagram, on TikTok, on these different platforms of the different candies and seeing what they got and how much they loved it or hated the candy. So I find it interesting that marketing is so important for these brands, or else they would have not gotten recognized as much, or, for better or worse, got these people talking about it. Okay, and then to the next section, we're on to the key takeaways. So we're on the last part. Let's first talk about the right section, then we'll end with like a little fun thing. And then actually we have one last slide that I think is very, very interesting. So extend the season, as we were saying, they've started it way earlier in September and trying to max out the amount of money that they can get. They even have, like there's for Halloween candy, they not only have candy, but they even have like Halloween candy themed spatulas and random things, especially I feel like I've seen like different cookie things that have like the scary pack of M&Ms in it and like different things that try to not only do these candy brands go for candy, but they try to add that into different areas. They also focus on the value perception. So with everything going on with high inflation, they try to maximize it, whether that is through bulk, because that's easier. They put them all into it, price it, or they shrink it. That's the way they've been doing it. As well as innovating packaging. I feel like every time I go, when I go to the store and see all the different Halloween candy, they'd always have these different unique packaging. It wasn't the classic, oh, when I see Reese's, it's just the orange one. I mean, of course they did have those kinds, but they tried to be innovative with the jack-o'-lantern style of the Reese's or the Skittle zombies. Like they try to go different to try to keep your eye intrigued by it because that's the best way that they think. And it really is the best way to get people wanting to buy your candy because if it catches your eye, that already gets you thinking about that brand more than another one. And I think this is super cool about it's also that Instacart. I loved all this information that was provided by Instacart for last year of the most uniquely popular candies in every state. So they take an average of like, okay, overall, here are the biggest candies, and then these are like, of those, what are the more unique? Like, so like for ours, it's peanut M&Ms. So like everyone has this amount. We buy it even more for peanut M&Ms, which I stand by that. I love peanut M&Ms. But I found it really interesting. There's some really weird ones. Now and Later, I never had that. Candy corn is in a few states. There's some really interesting ones, like, I don't even know. Chocolate, dark chocolate. They're fancy over there. So there's some really interesting ones. You should look at it. I think Haichu was really interesting for Alaska. I was not expecting Haichu for them. I don't know what I expect, but I feel like more chocolate, dark chocolate fits them more. So I found this really interesting. Lifesavers, I would never pick that. Or Hershey's milk chocolate, get out. No. So I think we had a great one. And to end, I had to mention something that was really, really interesting for Utah. I'm honestly not surprised, but I still found it a little shocking how drastic it is. But look, okay, Sweet Tooth states, we are nowhere even near. So basically, for this, there is the average of the amount of candy consumed for the state. They have it out here. We are 50% over that. Nowhere is even near. I think the closest is Wyoming, which is 31.5%. And so that's a little, but it's because we don't have alcohol and all that things. But like, I just find it interesting that we're like 50% over. I also thought it was really interesting. Hawaii is the lowest, 25% below. So they are another level there. I would say eating healthier, but I think they have just a different diet. Maybe they just don't go for candy. Because this is sweet tooth, but based on candy. It's not like anything else. So it's more focused on the Halloween candy. I find it very interesting. Florida, I really thought would, I did not expect negative because they have Disney there. They're already having tons of sweets. They love their candy. They go for the Disney candy, but apparently they don't go for the regular candy. I don't know. So I thought that was really interesting, and I hope you got some cool takeaways about Halloween candy from this year with some information about it from last year, and that you're thinking about it more, how we are a sweet tooth state, and that maybe now you know how your favorite candy follows in the list, or if it's a really unique one. So I really hope you enjoyed this presentation, and thanks for listening. Bye.